Life as a Chad YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. So, we're going to be reacting to Lauren Chen today. She has been involved in some interesting content the last couple of weeks. The most recent one is I thought it was going to be a debate, but I guess not. She was involved in a panel uh that Tim Pool it runs or hosts. That's a part of a bigger media company. I think it's like Tenet or something like that. This is the first that I am hearing of it, as Tim Pool is not somebody that I watch and consume content on a regular basis. But it was her, Pearl Davis, aka just Pearly Things, Andrew Wilson's wife, Rachel Wilson, and Isabella Moody. And it was kind of this like conservative woman, traditional woman, uh, if, for lack of a better way of calling it, non-modern woman, non-feminist woman panel. And it was interesting, but there were a few key points that I wanted to discuss. Definitely, especially when it comes to Lauren Chen. Now, before any of you guys write this in the comments, I don't have any sort of vendetta against Lauren. In the last couple of weeks, the last video I did was the first video I did highlighting some of her content. This will be the second, and I did say in the first video that she is somebody that in my early college years that I watched some of her content. I do think that she, at the very least, is genuine and wants to do good. I don't think she's a bad faith, dishonest person, which is not so bad, not so bad. But she's misguided. After all, she is a woman, and she has fallen victim to the same issues that a lot of modern women have fallen victim to, which it's in large part not really their fault. As I've said many times, and I got this from Rollo Tomasi, it is impossible for the modern woman, even if she is a Christian, to not have at least an inkling, an ounce of feminism within them, especially when you consider that they have grown up in a highly, highly, highly feminist society that has just indoctrinated them since they were this tall. So, when I see women like Lauren Chen, it's more of like a, oh, yep, of course. I'm not really surprised. I can see how for others it might be surprising to them, and might be seen as like a personal affront, or she is personally aggrieving them. But I promise you it's not that. It's just she can't help it. It's very similar to a lot of other modern women in that she has been immersed in it, and it's hard. It is hard, guys, for them to shed their belief system. You can't ask a tiger to shed its stripes in a day, right? I don't think that's how that saying goes, but a tiger can't shed its stripes or whatever. So we're going to be highlighting it, and in particular, a few things that were said. But before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys to consider smashing that subscribe button, at the very least, like, comment, share. Hope you guys drop some comments in the comment section. I try to get to all of them, good or bad, or indifferent. Definitely curious to hear what you guys think about Lauren Chen's performance in this video. And without further ado, let's get into this. All right, guys, we got it locked and loaded here. By the way, I did a recent car ride rant where I discuss, and it was in part inspired by this discussion slash debate panel. I'm not sure exactly what it was for sure. When I first caught wind of this, I thought it was going to be a debate that was on Andrew Wilson's channel, but I guess not. And there were definitely some contentious aspects to this panel, but the thing is that ultimately, I think if I had to say what it was, it was more of a discussion, free-flowing discussion with a few minor disagreements and contentious aspects. But I did a recent video slightly inspired by this, and it's titled "A Car Ride Rant." Don't marry a unicorn or something like that. Basically discussing the TradCon unicorn that a lot of men still fall victim to, and that is definitely one of the things I talk about the most, because that is the last kind of ditch effort that the modern woman has to camouflage herself into a marriage proposal, especially if they have been previously super promiscuous. And the thing is, guys, that you have to remember is two things. One is, when it comes to women, you have to only watch what they do. Obviously, you can still hear what they say, but you got to take it with a grain of salt, okay? Just directly speaking, watch what they do, not what they say. The second thing is what we already discussed, which is all of these women, if they are born in the West, they are going to have a feminist underbelly or inkling to them. It's just the way it is. They have been immersed in it. So to think that you're going to find this unicorn of this like perfectly traditional, submissive, respectful to male authority and the patriarch, for lack of a better term, is sadly misguided. So I hope you find it, but for reasons that we're going to delve more into by watching this, it's unfortunately unlikely. So here we go. This is the first thing that I wanted to respond to, and let's listen to this clip here. Put the playback speed up a little bit. Here we go.
Like, you won't convince me otherwise.
Probably some of the dumbest life choices you could make would be the ones that lead you to be homeless. Homeless are overwhelming.
Okay, yeah. Oh, let's talk about the homeless,
Well,
actually. No.
I gotta address your point. I gotta address your point. You said women make worse life choices. I'd say a man who married a woman who divorced him and took his stuff made a poor life choice.
That's true. People make their own decisions, responsible for their own actions.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, we have Lauren Chen saying, what about the Mendo? And, and Tim Pool, for that matter. By the way, just a slight disagreement. Pearl and I, listen, she is not the most politically savvy or engaged. She's far more knowledgeable surrounding the red pill and the manosphere and men's and women intersexual dynamics. But she said Tim Pool and Jordan Peterson, she labeled them as conservatives. And I'm sorry, Pearl, they are not. I would definitely not consider them conservatives. They are old school liberals. Okay, they are what's called classical liberals, which I guarantee. I'm pretty sure I've heard Jordan Peterson say himself in the past. And especially with boomer men, you will hear a lot of them call themselves that because they know they don't fit the liberalness of today. They're not that liberal, but they're still liberal, though. They still believe in the liberal ideologies of when they were growing up, which is still not conservative. So I guess if you want to look at conservatism from the lens of conserving traditions and ideas and ideals, then I guess from that perspective, they are somewhat conservative in that they are trying to preserve their liberal ideology of when they were growing up. But right off the bat, we have Tim Pool and Lauren Chen pulling a motherfucking what about the Mendo? And the thing is that when it comes to this whole dating scene and the situation that we find ourselves in today, women are automatically afforded far more power in the dating market than men are. And I get the point that they're trying to make. They're trying to say, well, if men are supposed to have all of this authority and be given this respect, then we should also give them equal responsibility, i.e., when they pick a bad mate, it should be seen as, well, that's on you for picking a bad mate. And I'm listen, that's not wrong in and of itself, because yes, there is a certain degree of that is true. But I would say in response to that, number one, men have not changed, women have. So men are still the traditional, especially the average man, the traditional wanting to be a good husband, wanting to be a good father man. It's the women that have changed. So when a man enters into a relationship, he is the average man, okay, not Life as a Chad, not the red pill people that have the game on the actual game. Okay, when they enter into a relationship, they are naively thinking and ignorantly thinking that it's going to last forever, and they are loving what Rollo Tomasi and Myron Gaines would call idealistically. They have this ideal of what marriage is and what they want it to be and what a woman is and what she can provide for him, and that is how the mindset that he has entering into the relationship. And the assumption is that the woman has the exact same thing. And ultimately, that's the underlying issue here on why so many men are getting so fucked, is because they are gullible fools. And you know, hate them or love them for that, but they are. And they're going into it thinking, well, shit, she thinks just like I do. She wants to be a good wife. I want to be a good husband. Doesn't she want to be a good wife? Doesn't she want to live a selfless life? Doesn't she actually believe in death do us part and all of these things? And they are not in on the game that I'm discussing right now. And so, much like Steven Crowder, they don't find out until it's too late that the modern woman is far different than the women of 60 years ago. Okay, there's the meme that the modern man has to work twice as hard, make twice as much money, be twice as handsome to get a woman that is 6 times worse. I mean, I don't know what the actual saying is, but you guys will get the point. That is 6 times worse than your great grandmother's mom was. And it's so true. And they ultimately don't find out until it's too late, because they are still living in this naivete that it will work and that the woman wants exactly what he wants. But then they realize very quickly. Sometimes, actually, no, I take that back. They don't always realize very quickly, because sometimes men, they're romantics at heart. I really do believe that men are far more romantic than women, and they don't want to believe it's so. They don't want to believe it's so. They want to continue to love idealistically. They want to continue to believe that this woman wants to be a good wife, a good mother, and be in a committed marriage. But then it's too late. She is asking for a divorce based off of irreconcilable differences, and that is all she wrote. And so my point here is that in a vacuum, yes, I understand what they're saying. Yes, men should in a vacuum be more knowledgeable and have more insight into the modern state of affairs. But unfortunately, they're too busy working their ass off to even get that woman in the first place to know this type of game right here. And so they enter into a relationship, as I already discussed, with a woman that is not what he envisions her ideally to be. And so, you're kind of just blaming men again for being romantics and believing in the way it should be. Lauren Chen saying that men should take responsibility for entering into a marriage when it's hard enough as is, and wanting to be optimistic and believe in her and believe in what she can bring as a wife, as a mother, is kind of fucked up. That she's kind of reversing it back and saying, no, it's still your fault. You still should have known better. You still should have known better. That's kind of crazy, though. Am I wrong? I mean, that's insane. So again, in a vacuum, makes sense. But when you really think about it, we're not operating on the same field as we always were. And a lot of these men don't realize until it's too late. And So by that logic, Lauren, yes, we need to start a full throttle campaign to wake men the fuck up and not marry these hoes unless they can show without a shadow of a doubt that they are not some modern woman who believes in these modern sensibilities. Okay, I got it. All right, let's continue.
Over, steal my kids, and take my money.
Yeah, you screwed up. That's your fault.
Right. So then men shouldn't get married by that logic. So
don't get married unless you're absolutely sure you're
or
not
have children by that logic, because women are always paid, and they're paid to leave.
Well, I mean, I'm going to push back on the idea that women are paid to leave, I actually want to. If you're married to like a rich guy, you are better off if you're just interested financially. You have access to greater resources by staying married.
But what is your argument that men should get married anyway, even if they risk divorce?
No. My argument is that men should pick for themselves, but I would never downplay the risk of marriage, and I think it could happen to anyone.
Yeah, poor life choice.
Even a good
if they're
woman.
watching your show and they believe what you're saying, they made a dumb choice.
All right, rude, but even a good woman. Sometimes women in their 20s change, so they might say one thing in their 20s, and then their 30s and 40s they might switch. Look at conservative comment. No, because they are still incentivized to leave.
Right,
and
so men shouldn't get married.
Oh wait, should or shouldn't?
Shouldn't.
Well, I'm saying men should pick for themselves, but I would never downplay that risk. But I want to go.
It's funny because Tim Pool, as this whole point. By the way, Tim Pool doesn't really believe in anything. He's the categorical fucking fence sitter. But as this clip drags on, you realize that Tim Pool and Lauren Chen are actually coming from this at opposite directions. And Lauren Chen is saying this as like a what about the Mendo, classic modern womanese of women not taking any responsibility for their terrible modern behavior. And Tim Pool is coming at it from the perspective of, well, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, it is terribly dangerous. They shouldn't get married, right? So they're actually really ultimately making different, they might be making the same point with different motivations or a different point with similar motivations. I think it would be, they're making a similar point with different motivations. No, they're not making the same point.
If they're going to listen to everything you just said and then choose to get married, they made a poor life choice.
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I am saying that from a contractual standpoint, it would not be a contract that favors them.
Right. So the point is, if your argument is the system is weighted against you,
correct,
you can get divorced, then the logical thing a smart man could do is not get married and have kids.
Yeah, if they wanted a contract that favored them, yes.
Right.
But I want to go back to the homeless. And the problem you get with a lot of this stuff is that there's not a lot of studies put into men's issues. So a lot of times what you see with the data is you're not getting the full picture, because most studies that are funded, it's for women, and the government is run by feminists. So there's a guy, he's out of Michigan. His name's Terrence Popp, really, really smart guy. And he actually followed 1,800 divorces.
So I want to make one more point briefly. I was going to maybe wait a little bit, but another major issue I have with
Michigan,
what Lauren
and
Chen
what he did
has to say on these matters is, when women make comments like this, they're making these comments from a woman's mindset, and what I'm talking about is a woman's mindset, which is from the age of 18, they can pretty much get whatever Tom, Dick, and Harry that they so choose. That from the age of 18, maybe even sooner, they're being given all sorts of attention. They're being put on a pedestal, and what does Myron always say? He always talks about the trust fund baby versus the person who earned it. Okay, and you always see, in response to men finally sticking up to themselves, people like Lauren who say, well, you should have just chosen better. Okay, Lauren, do you understand hypergamy? Do you understand that men are not operating from the same playing field in the dating marketplace as women are? Do you understand that a lot of men have sex with who they can rather than the women's side of things, of choosing who they have sex with? It's not the same situation. A lot of men out here don't have the sexual marketplace value to be able to like categorically say, you know what, that one's good. She's got a few red flags. Maybe I'll just have fun with her, but ultimately, fuck it. That one's good. she may not be too good in the sack, but she doesn't have a lot of bodies. And, you know, do you really think that most men are able to think, can afford to think that way? No, they can't, because really the only way that an average man could think that way is if they were willing to forego sex for long periods of time, which, let's be honest, most men categorically are not willing to do that. I just find it so ridiculous when women say this, like men have the same access to sex that women do. It's not an apples to apples comparison. So, you know, to come at this from a perspective of, well, men can just be more picky. They can be more discernible. They can have, you know, and yes, on a certain level, I agree that men should be smarter and should have boundaries and should be masculine in their approach, because it is very masculine to have boundaries and things like that. But ultimately, there is the law of numbers, which is there a large portion of men are just going to fall right there, which is the average the average set of men, and they're not aware of this red pill game, and they're just settling for what they can, you know, and you're going to sit here and blame them for wanting to wife up some chick who probably honestly doesn't even deserve him. You're going to push it right back to him and say, well, he should have been more discernible. He should have, you know, well, if he doesn't want to get a divorce, then he should have chosen a more traditional woman who you know, doesn't even have a divorce, who's not even divorce minded. Well, I got news for you, Lauren. Over half of the female population is divorce minded. Okay. So it's not as easy as you think. And the real good women that are the upper echelon, really, and including the women who are not the upper echelon, because average men are fighting with the upper 10% of men, regardless of, you know, I would say any woman who's like a 6 or above, the average men are fighting, no matter what, with the top 10% of men for that girl's attention. So, but when it really comes down to the top really good women who maybe don't have a ton of bodies, if not any bodies at all, who are soft, feminine, nurturing, caring, you know, they know their value and they're going to go after a top G, plain and simple. So to pretend that there's all of these non-red flag women that are not divorce minded and that all of these average men can just totally be picky and find is ludicrous. It is absolutely ludicrous.
It was, he found the reason for the divorces, and he actually followed a lot of those men to homeless shelters. And he found that if he goes to homeless shelters, 70% of the men owe child support. A lot of men are become homeless because of the system.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but that's my point. But the way you're painting it is like, oh, if they're homeless, that's just a poor life choice.
But I mean, from your own logic, you know, if you have sex with a guy who knocks you up then leaves, that's a poor life choice, right? These are all, we can say, poor life choices to some degree. That gets you there. Doesn't absolve the other person of responsibility either, but you are ultimately at least a little bit culpable for the
I'm not saying they're not culpable,
in.
But what I'm saying is that he shouldn't have to be enslaved for 18 years to a woman because he made a poor life choice. And there's no female equivalent of that.
I mean,
no, because the woman can always put the guy on child support for the most part.
Having to raise a child that perhaps you did not want in single motherhood, some women would say that.
But she still has the choice to abort. And adoption as well. You know, there's a case in Utah where a woman wanted to give up her son for adoption. The husband wanted it. He wanted to raise. He said, "Please let me raise." He had no rights. The kid's gone.
Do you think women should be drafted?
So I think. Sorry, guys. I think
as long as we can vote, we should be drafted.
On that clip, I think there's another one that I want to pull up here to react to. So it's actually at the end of the video. So we're going to start watching. It's literally at the tail end. And thankfully, I watched it all the way through because I really think that this is it's a gem. And let's listen. Let's give her a listen.
Lots of crazy stuff. That,
Yeah, guys,
people
get her book.
don't
It's
know.
an easy read. You can read it in a day. And Rachel is literally a genius. So you guys should definitely get it.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And then rwilson.substack.com has a bunch of my writing on it too.
I went to go shoo a fly on the table I thought would move. It did not. I just
He died.
He died. And
Finally died.
I've killed a fly with my bare hands.
Wow.
Great. Yeah, I guess my
Yuck.
I guess final thoughts would be that I think men should be and have every right to be discerning. There are women who are not OnlyFans whores out there. Don't let anyone try to say that this is the new normal. It's not normal.
3%.
3%?
Statistically, that don't have
Or
tattoos.
OnlyFans.
But Lauren, it is. What are you talking about? What should be, and this is what Andrew Wilson in his debate, I don't understand how she doesn't fucking understand this. This is what Andrew was talking about in his debate with her. There's a difference between what ought to be and what is. And even Pearl kept saying this multiple times in this video. It is what literally is right now the norm is a woman who is either a stripper, who is on OnlyFans, who is an escort of some sort, who is a cam girl of some sort, or who is literally full blown a on the side prostitute. Okay. So that is the new norm. Now, if I had to break it up into percentages, just eyeballing it, doing the eyeball test, I would say probably at least 30% of women are engaged in some sort of X work. Okay. So again, I don't understand how she's not getting this. Yes. Yes. Should men be more discerning? Is it okay that men are discerning? Of course. Okay. Of course. That you're not really saying much by saying that. But as I discussed earlier, to pretend like the average man is going to be able to just go, swipe right, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. No, she's a little too big. You know what? I don't like how that tooth hang there. She's got a skin tag on her forehead. No, bro, that's not. I'm telling you, I know average men. It's not possible. I might even be one myself. It is not possible. Okay. Maybe it is, but it's just not the way it is. They don't have the marketplace value to sit there and do that shit. Okay. So I don't know what she's talking about. It is the new norm. What is she talking about? And to think that all of these average men are going to be able to find all of these traditional women, the math, the numbers, dear, just don't bear that out. Okay, let's just, okay, fuck it, let's do it. Let's just do the numbers on a high estimation level. If I had to guess, I would say about 10 to 15% of modern women that are marriageable age, which I would say, for most men is 35 or below. Now, for me, it would be lower than that. It'd probably be 28 or below. But for most men, I think they would consider a woman 35 or below. I would say maybe 10 to 15% are traditional. Okay. Of that 10 to 15%, you can already knock out 5% right off the bat, zoop, gone, who are going to go, because they know their value, go after the top G, and whether they got to share him, whatever the case may be, they're going to go after the top G, top 10% of men. Okay, gone. Because they're top, 10, 50% of women. Especially the traditional hot ones, the traditional hot chicks. Oh, please. So what are you left with? The 5 to 10%? The average man is like 40%. The numbers just don't bear it out. There's not enough of them to go around, Lauren. There's not. So, and even those, let's take it a step further. Of those 5 to 10%, I would say at least 1 to 2% are slightly still touched. Well, actually, I take that back. All of them are slightly touched by the feminist bug. Okay. They have a slight inkling of it. Oh, what? At the very least, they have a slight inkling of the feminist bug. But furthermore, I would say that the 1 to 2% of that 5 to 10% are slightly open to divorce. Worst comes to worst. Okay. So, you're just not dealing with very, very optimistic numbers.
Stacked against men. So I'm constantly
Lots of crazy stuff. That,
Yeah, guys,
people
get her book.
don't
It's
know.
an easy read. You can
Sorry,
read it in a
guys,
day, and Rachel
I
is literally a
fucking
genius, so
missed
you
the
guys should
thing.
definitely get it.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And then rwilson.substack.com has a bunch of my writing on it too.
I went to go shoo a fly on the table. I thought would
Oh
move.
my
It did
God, we
not.
gotta watch
I
this
just
He
again.
died.
He
Fuck.
died. And
Finally died.
I've killed a fly with my bare hands.
Wow.
Great. Yeah, I guess my final thoughts
Masculate.
would be that I think men should be and have every right to be discerning. There are women who are not OnlyFans whores out there. Don't let anyone try to say that this is the new normal. It's not normal.
3%.
3%?
Statistically, that don't have
Or
tattoos.
OnlyFans.
That don't have tattoos, debt, or other men's kids.
Aaron Clary.
Just so you know, guys.
Well, I mean, I think some men
Or
want to.
OnlyFans.
Shout out Aaron Clary. Book of
Yeah, shout out
numbers.
to Eric Clary. 3%.
So essentially, that number is 3% of women who don't have that don't have 3 to 5 tattoos or over or whatever that is, that don't have children out of wedlock and haven't been divorced. You're not dealing with very good numbers. Hell, even Rachel Wilson, who I think is great. She shared one of my episodes. Even she has been divorced twice. Okay. Lauren, we're just not dealing with the same playing field that you think. You're just not operating on the purest forms of truth that exists. You're just not.
Yeah, I mean, but be discerning. Have your own standards. I don't think a tattoo is necessarily going to be the same level of I am not interested
Don't
in you
worry,
as
they
only.
felt
Yeah, be discerning. Be discerning, because you'll be able to snatch up one of those 3% of women, no problem. It is laughable, guys. I'm trying not to dwell on this too much, but it's laughable. Yeah, it's okay to be discerning. You'll be able to snatch up one of those 3% of women, no probs, no probs.
Fans.
It's like 3 or more they counted, so
3 or more tattoos?
3 or more is the threshold?
yeah, roughly. I can't remember if it was 3 or 5, but they actually let women get away with 1.
All right, Lauren.
Yeah, well, be discerning. Look at the stats. I mean, if you are a Christian man and you want a sacramental marriage and you pray every day with your family over your wife, the likelihood of you getting divorced is actually quite low. Does that mean you have to do it? No, but I want people to be look at this issue from all sides, from all angles. There are a lot of group differences out there I don't feel like are talked enough about because it's not politically correct to point that they exist. So don't ignore those. And ultimately, yeah, like my advice to you, if you're just like an atheist and a throuple or whatever, no, don't get married. Don't just expect some government piece of paper to fix everything. Go to church, find Christ.
Where can we find you?
So I am at the Lauren Chen on Instagram, Telegram, X, Lauren Chen channel on YouTube. Also Mediaholic if you want to watch like pop culture movie reviews. And if you're looking for bath and body products, I gave my samples away to Benny Johnson for his wife. But you can check out Mama Chen's like soaps, body scrubs, and all that at clearlypure.etsy.com, clearlypure.etsy.com. And we have a Mother's Day sale, so you can use code MOM15 to save money.
I got some. They're great.
Yeah.
So what I would say is many conservatives.
I hate Con Inc. being turned into this money grab. I hate it. Really bothers me. But by the way, guys, there was a point in this video. So in my other video that I made of Lauren Chen, I said at the very beginning that I have said multiple times that men, you should not be watching women's content. Now, I watch this purely from a content perspective and to break down some of the issues of the modern conservative traditional woman and the drawbacks to that, just as I critique the modern feminist woman. Okay. Because at the end of the day, one can make the case that the modern conservative trad woman is in a way worse because they pretend to be one way, but in reality they're another. Occasionally they're like the spider the species of spider where the female will mate with the male and then kill him after. It's like, at least a feminist woman, what you're getting. What they think and what they really believe. They're not wearing it as like as a new fad or a new piece of clothing or some shit. So she said that they talked about I forget what, I don't have the timestamp on it, but they were all talking about how a majority of the people who watch their content are men. Lauren Chen admitted that 80% of men, or 80% of her audience are men. And then she goes on to say that she started a new channel to discuss like movies and shit like that, like popular culture. And it's 95% men. And this is what I'm saying, guys. Like, you need to stop watching women's content. I think there's only a select few that are like worth it. And like, if she's below the age of 30, nope, can't do it. If she does any form of modeling, can't do it. No matter how traditional she said, because I'm telling you, fellas, and it's true too, that on a certain level, you're watching it same way that you'd be watching corn or something, like, not saying that, you would do the full blown and whatnot with it, but you're watching it because you find this chick attractive, and I'm not hating on you for it. I understand it. Like, every man has fallen victim to that. But if you are going to watch it, I do genuinely ask that you ask yourself, why am I watching this woman's content? Is it because I genuinely think that she has good thoughts, a good philosophy, something to share, something worth sharing? Or is it because I think she's hot? Because if you're a Christian man, let me tell you something. You really should not be listening to women for too much by way of information and advice. So just keeping it real.
Will try to say that religion is some
Misogyny.
buffer to divorce, but unfortunately there are no religious women in divorce courts. What you often see is them trying to make a higher and higher threshold where most religious people don't count. You're not real if you don't pray every day, yada, 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 yada. I have seen divorce happen from pastors. I have seen it happen to men that are very religious and do not want to break up the home. But unfortunately, when a woman wants to
Pearl is spot on. So I have an anecdotal story, and I think I'll probably do a separate video on this. But there was a pastor for the church that I went to, and this was a huge reason why I became an Orthodox Christian. And he was married to this. He was the head of our new church. I wouldn't say that he was and this was a Protestant church, and I wouldn't say per se that he was a conservative man or anything like that, but I wouldn't say he was liberal either. He was just like your average Christian man that's not too knowledgeable about politics and shit like that. And he was married at the time the church started with 2 young boys. And now, mind you, again, this is a guy that is a lead pastor who has respect and authority, is the leader of at least 100 people's spiritual life, and preeminent over the spiritual information that they receive. So definitely checked a lot of boxes on her attraction triggers. And about 2 years in to him starting this new church, she left him. And it was this whole big thing at the church, whether he should be the pastor any longer and stuff like that. And ultimately, it was voted that it's okay for him to still be the pastor. And I think a lot of people, realized, like, what could he do? Like, he was a family man. He was a good dad. Maybe he didn't make the most money in the world, but he had a home that was provided through the church and pretty much met every single standard of taking care of a family necessary. And she still up and left. Now, in that particular situation, I do think that speaks far more to the modern woman's lack of mental health than anything. But it's a example of what Pearl is talking about regarding, even if you meet all of the qualifications, even if you are the pastor and you are the pastor of the church and you are husband to that woman, you literally hold that authority, and she literally is a Christian, and you literally are the pastor of the church. She still might leave your ass. I mean, think about that, guys. This is a Christian woman who, in theory, believes in Christian doctrine, who has a perfectly fine family man, who is intelligent. I have seen him personally. He's not like the tallest guy or anything like that, but I wouldn't call him ugly. You know, he's probably, as far as looks go, it's maybe average to slightly above average and in good shape, you know, probably about 5'10", 5'9", and she still left his ass. So these are all and there's too many examples of this, of the dire straits that we are in right now. It's not as simple as just pray with your family, because I guarantee that pastor prayed with his family. I can guarantee you that, Lauren. It's not as simple as just pray for your family. Just be a good father, be present, just be there. And you won't get a divorce. Yeah, right. Because that dude did all of that and she still left his ass. So Lauren Chen, I'm sorry, guys, is totally misguided. She has no idea what the average man is going through. How could she? And that's another reason why I don't think you men should be listening to women, because they will never understand your experience. How could they? You think a woman that looks like Lauren Chen, now she's not the hottest girl in the world, but she's cute enough. You think that she has any clue what the average man goes through? Are you kidding me? This is a girl who has seen success on a large level since she was, what, 22 years old? You really think that she has the slightest clue what the average man goes through, the trials and tribulations, especially in the sexual marketplace, goes through? Come on, man. You are sadly mistaken. If you believe that, I feel sorry for you.
To divorce you, the state will aid her, and it is not, you can't pray a woman that wants to leave into not leaving you. Although that is not my hope. I hope you guys all have happy marriages and have kids.
Yes!
But I just think, I would never downplay the risk of marriage. And yeah, I talk about all this stuff.
Mom15 to save money.
I got some. They're great.
Yeah.
So what I would say is many conservatives will try to say that religion is some buffer to divorce, but unfortunately there are no religious women in divorce courts. What you often see is them trying to make a higher and higher threshold where most religious people don't count. You're not real if you don't pray every day, yada, 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 yada. I have seen divorce happen from pastors. I have seen it happen to men that are very religious and do not want to break up the home. But unfortunately, when a woman wants to divorce you, the state will aid her. And it is not, you can't pray a woman that wants to leave into not leaving you. Although that is not my hope. I hope you guys all have happy marriages and have kids. But I just think, I would never downplay the risk of.
It's sad, and I'm not applauding the sad nature of it. I'm just, she just spit a bar right there.
Marriage. And yeah, I talk about all this stuff. I have a documentary coming out this year. TheAudacity.network.com is where you can find my website. And sign up for the memberships if you want to help fund the divorce documentary, because I was.
All right, guys, there might be a little bit more that we're gonna watch here.
Like abolishing no fault divorce, though, I think it is gaining traction. I'm here.
Situation. Look at Lauren Southern. She just got an article written about her poor divorce story. There's no shame, even from conservatives, for divorce.
I think the movement for like abolishing no fault divorce, though, I think it is gaining traction. I'm hearing about it more and more, and it's partly due to people like you, but I think there are more and more conservatives who weren't really thinking about this. It's not like they supported it, but that it just wasn't on their radar. And I think it's starting to become part of the conversation where, hey, maybe we should talk about this in a way that 10 years ago.
Why would it not be on their radar, though? This is like this is like logically it should be on their radar. If you're a Christian and something infringes upon the lifelong until the afterlife afterlife bond that a man and woman are supposed to share. It should have been thought about. You should have given a thunk to it. I'll tell you that.
It wasn't even being mentioned. So I'm actually somewhat hopeful that maybe in the future we could do something about that. I think that is a
Yikes. Oh my gosh, she is so delusional, guys. I'm sorry. All right, guys, we're only going to do a little bit more of this. I don't know how much more of this I could take, honestly.
a meaningful change that we could make that would again, I'm not advocating for state marriage, but for those of people who do care about government marriage but are concerned about that, I think that actually is something we could change.
Yeah, I think it sounds. I hate to be, I hate to be a pessimist. I just don't see any evidence that's happening. That's like we could say, we want that to happen, but it's not like a wish list.
I have a question. What is the #1 podcast among women?
Probably some murder one.
Probably call her daddy.
Yeah,
That's got to be because
I
they
believe
were
that's
close.
correct.
They were close to Joe Rogan.
And what do they talk about on that show?
Sex.
Yeah,
It's
how to
like,
give proper blowjobs.
yeah.
It's kind of wild. Because,
And she just got married. That's a crazy thing.
I was thinking about this because it is largely true crime. Women listen to a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah,
of
I
murder
love
mysteries.
true crime.
But I think was it Call Her Daddy?
Yeah.
And it's like kind of vapid, degenerate sex talk.
Why am I not surprised that Lauren Chen loves true crime? Why am I not surprised by that? Oh my gosh, bro.
And what do guys listen to? No question, it's Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan,
And
yeah.
what does Joe Rogan talk about?
Protein, MMA. My husband loves
really?
Joe Rogan.
And
I hate to be this nitpicky, but her being the one chick on this panel that raises her hand to let everybody know that she loves true crime, I think is very representative of how modern of a woman she is. And I don't think she realizes it. Hopefully she has an awakening regarding this. But if she hasn't by 30, which is what she is now, it's highly unlikely. Now, is she the most modern woman in the world? Of course not. She's married, which is good. And, she's Christian and somewhat conservative. But again, that's just a small microcosm of the susceptibility that women have of the modern culture that exists.
and cultural news and political news.
Yeah.
And so I bring that up because I'm willing to bet the majority of people listening to this show right now are dudes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because on YouTube, my audience is probably for my political channel around 80%
See?
male, and I was excited when I started my pop culture entertainment channel. I was like, finally, I can have more girl audiences because we're just talking about movies. No, 95% male. So I don't know. I guess I'm not talking about the right movies.
Yeah.
Or the right activities.
Yeah, so I had a question with the Crowder case. I told you I was going to bring this up. Why, you said on stream there's some information behind the scenes, but if you're willing to say, this vague stuff, like what is it?
So officially, my stance is, aside from what I've already said, Crowder and I currently work for, and he used to work for Blaze TV. We do actually have, some NDAs and non-disparagements, so I will not be commenting further. And I know that's frustrating, but that's why I'm not.
But then why did you make
I'm on Crowder's side.
Yeah, but why did you make like 5 videos on it if you're going to say now I can't comment?
Oh, I can't comment on what is not publicly available.
Okay.
I can talk about what publicly is out there.
Okay. So publicly, Hillary on video said he wasn't abusive. Why was that not reported on?
About him not being abusive?
Yeah, it was on video.
I mean,
And so,
I have problems with
you
the
had
way
something where you alluded in your video on him that he was abusive after you played the clip of him talking to his wife. So my question is, if you're going to report on that, why did you not report on the video of her saying he wasn't?
He wasn't abusive. Which video you're talking about?
was
The one
him.
that I recently did with Jared?
It was no, not the one where you did with Jared. I'm saying there was
I bet
video
it's not
of Hillary
gay,
Crowder
Jared.
saying that Stephen was not abusive, and all of the conservatives were super willing to throw him under the bus the last year, make a ton of money off of, except for Tim. Except
the
for
only
Tim,
one?
you were the only one who I thought was fair. I really did. I have never been so disappointed in conservatives because
Well, with Stephen, and I think with Stephen, like if it were just his divorce, wouldn't have talked about it, but he is someone who is in this industry who has a pattern of basically blowing up personal relationships. And I think
right, but
a
that
lot
doesn't
of
make him an
people-
abuser,
a
right?
lot
You
of
can be an
people-
asshole, but that doesn't make you abusive.
I definitely
and
don't
think
think
we've
he's like
got
physically abusive or anything like that.
Well, yeah, but you alluded that he was like you said that he was abusing his wife in that clip. So if she has a clip that says, hey, he's not, I would think, oh, wow, all the conservatives, you guys would be the first to report.
By the way, guys, your boy was fair to Steven Crowder, and I don't even really like him. I've done multiple. I mean, I don't dislike him. as I said in the videos that I did for him about covering him, I watched his comment when I was like a vanilla conservative, but you know, as you progress, you realize that they are here and you're coming here. So, you know, I don't feel one way or the other about him. And I thought Pearl in her assessment was valid, you know, and I said in my most recent video, my car ride rant, that one of the things, so I'll link my reaction to that whole situation regarding Steven Crowder. But one of the things that he said that stood out to me was, "You don't show love to me," or something like that. And to me, that was very telling, because if you're a man and you really think about that for a second, you understand what he's saying. Because men, and I'm going to try not to go too far into this because I did a video on it. You can see my longer response in the car ride rant. But men receive love by women through women being soft, gentle, kind-hearted, listening to their authority, to their direction, and through respect. And if that is not present, it is very hard for a man to feel loved by said woman. It really is. Because underlying it all, the number one thing that a woman can do to show love to her man is to respect his word, to respect him as a man. And that's why women know one of the easiest ways that they can hurt a man is to say, "What? I don't respect you." And so when he said that, it became very clear to me that his ex-wife is probably a classic suburban white girl who has, like most good-looking suburban white girls, has had everything handed to her on a silver platter. And when she was with Steven, it was no different. And it probably became an expectation rather than something that was like, wow, I admire you, Steven, for being able to protect and provide for me. And I cherish you. I care about you. And thank you for being able to do that. I guarantee that it was one of those things where it's like, oh, just kind of an expectation. Oh, okay. I don't know if Steven did that. Oh, who knows? And regardless, I did do my best to be fair about that whole situation. And I took a lot of heat in that video. I took a lot of heat, especially from conservative people. I did not get any like sub increase or anything like, well, maybe I did like a couple, but it was not a highly profitable video for me. But I don't give a shit, because at the end of the day, what I care far more about is the truth and us living in a better world. And a part of that is to not believe women no matter what, without a shadow of a doubt, every single time, no matter what, 100% of the time. That's ridiculous. All right, let's keep watching.
Except for Tim. He was the only one who did. And it's like, you were willing to make video.
Well, if you're, are you asking like the ring cam footage about him?
No, it was a video of his wife in court, and she said he was not abusive. This is on camera. The nanny also testified not abusive.
I think my video specifically was about the nanny footage, which I mean, to tell your spouse that you do not love them, I do think that's, I mean, emotionally abusive.
Well, I wouldn't say that's emotionally abusive. No. And because he says you do not show me love, and what he was referring to in the video, if you really listen, pay attention, and there was a clip cut out, was that she was not showing him love because she didn't listen to him. And it's like, trad wives. Why wasn't the question? Why didn't you walk the dog like you were told?
Yeah.
But if you're really,
there's a lot to do with the whole Steven Crowder situation that I'm just not going to comment on, like, publicly.
But you were willing to publicly make video after video after video
about what was publicly available.
And so is the nanny footage. So is like, so why don't?
Quick question. Isn't it confirmed that?
Wow, I didn't notice it until now, but Lauren got fucked up in that little 5-second. She couldn't even respond to what Pearl was saying there which all of that was public information that Lauren herself admitted to being able to respond to. Woo-wee! That's
I
crazy.
think my video specifically was about the nanny footage, which I mean, to tell your spouse that you do not love them, I do think that's, emotionally abusive.
Well, I wouldn't say that's emotionally abusive. And because he says you do not show me love. And what he was referring to in the video, if you really listen, pay attention, and there was a clip cut out, was that she was not showing him love because she didn't listen to him. And it's like trad wives. Why wasn't the question, why didn't you walk the dog like you?
Such a backhanded compliment. If you really listen and pay attention. Oh my God, women are so catty, bro.
You were told.
Yeah.
But
If you're
Again,
really,
there's a lot to do with the whole Steven Crowder situation that I'm just not going to comment on, publicly.
But you were willing to publicly make video after video after video
about what was publicly available.
So is the nanny footage. So is
Isn't it confirmed that I could be wrong about this, that Crowder's wife deleted a bunch of footage from
over 100? That's important, you would think.
Yeah.
That's
conservative.
So actually, Justice Warrior did this whole breakdown about it. That's something that Crowder's team is alleging, but I don't know if the court itself has verified or backed it up at this
And I'll
point.
tell you why I knew it was full of shit when I first heard it, because I've interviewed so many men that have gone through the same exact thing. And what women do is they poison the well for years. So they'll go around to all of his friends and drop little tidbits of abuse. Now, the common ones are emotional abuse, physical abuse. Some throw in the pedo accusation. That's devastating to men. That's a devastating one. They'll say it about their family. So they'll do this for years. Then when they come out and say he's abusive, they have all of these people ready to back them up in white knight. And then,
listen, guys, I'm not saying that you should listen to Pearl. As I said, you should be aware of listening to women. But I got to tell you, she is far more knowledgeable about the male experience than, well, I mean, I've always known that, but like in this moment, me listening to her being able to drop those tidbits about the relationship manipulation and social circle manipulation that wives will do against their husband in order to set up a divorce. Man, that is only something that somebody who really legitimately cares would know and understand.
Typically what you get is an out of context clip that they throw out there. And so I knew what was happening when I first saw the video.
And you can tell from her Twitter that she's obviously a crazy woman. And I personally think emotional abuse is a myth. I know you said
I agree with you on
seem
that.
to have a different perspective. Would you think emotional abuse is a valid reason to have a divorce if you support no fault divorce?
No, but something can be unacceptable behavior though, still within a marriage. Absolutely.
But who are you to tell a man how to speak to his wife in his house? Isn't that out of order?
I mean, you do that all the time. You call other men simps
You
all the
are
time.
out of
But I don't tell
order.
them how to talk to their wife. That's your business.
That is absolutely not true.
Okay,
There are
name it. Go
yeah,
ahead.
for sure. There are tons of times where
What is that from? You are out of order. Out of order. I forget what that it's what comedy is that from? Oh, it's Michael Scarn from The Office. You are out of order. I can't believe I remember that.
there will
ones?
be actual men in your comments saying
So when I
disagree, and you call them simps.
When I say simps, it typically means out of order. So typically when I say that, I'm referring to a pattern of behavior where they're putting women on a pedestal. That's typically what I'm describing.
Get ready, everyone.
Let's get to work.
Yeah. You are out of order. That's funny.
But you'll say that about
this is,
specific
we're
men
going to the what,
talking
but we're going to the
to-
what about. You're changing the topic.
No,
who
this
are
is
you?
the same topic.
No, it's a different, because
same topic.
my original question is, who are you to tell a man how to talk to his wife in his home?
Well, I don't-
Do you think you should be able to tell a man how to talk to his wife in his house?
I think that men should conduct themselves with biblical standards when it comes
But
to.
but answer my question. Do you think it's your place to tell men how to talk to their wives in their home? Answer yes or no.
But who's the orbiter of those biblical standards? Is it you, Lauren Chen? Is it you? Is it every woman within the relationship? Because I seem to think and remember that it's the head of the house, which is the husband, who, for good reason, is the orbiter of such information.
I think it is perfectly reasonable to say that a man should hold himself to a Christian standard in the home.
Okay, so you do think it's your place, and this is what I mean when I say a lot of conservative women aren't really conservative.
That's true. What it ends up being is woman sad, man mean. Woman sad, man bad.
Because you're first
thank
from a
you,
biblical
Rachel.
point of view, you're supposed to be obedient to your husband in all things. So before conservative women will talk about the disobedience, their first thing is their tone.
Yes, the tone policing.
That's
super
before,
out of control.
But never,
But-
and I can show this because there's video after video after video. Not a single conservative woman said, "Oh, hey, she didn't listen to her husband." Not one. Not one. That's crazy to me. And then we want to say, like, you know, men, go get married to conservative women. Most of them aren't really conservative.
Let's bring up the Lauren Southern story, because I think this was actually a big component of Lauren's story. This article was written, I think it was Unheard. It was written by a woman who got divorced. And in the story, I think one of the issues was...
So this is where I'm going to leave it. They go on to talk about Lauren Southern and her situation. Actually, you know what? Maybe we'll play a little bit of that.
Lauren realizing that just being this obedient, good wife to this man wasn't working. He kept threatening to divorce her, and it seemed like nothing was working. That was her. I believe
that's her side of the story.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And so I doubt it.
But
You were just, okay, let me get this straight. Okay, so nobody asked a question. You were this perfect angel. You were a perfect angel. All you did was listen to your husband, and then he threatened to divorce you all the time. Do you guys hear these stories? You believe this? Come on.
But that's why I mentioned biblical patriarchy. Lauren talks about how even before they were married, he would do things like leave for days on end, like not talk to her. There were red flags.
Why did he leave? And that's what we never talk about. A lot of times when men leave, it is because there is a negative behavior that we don't talk about. Why? For example, what if she cheated? I'm not saying she did. I don't know. What if she cheated? Would that be an acceptable reason for him to leave for 3 days?
I know, but
we don't know. We don't know,
even if that is a red
she gets
flag,
an article.
you have a responsibility as a woman to choose
Sure.
to choose a strong leader for yourself. So if you're going into this 4 months and you're already seeing red flags, it's not trad to say, I will marry him anyway. Like, I've not seen Christian dating accounts say, ignore all the red flags.
Are they a Christian couple though?
I think he is.
Is she Christian?
Like,
what are we?
Yeah. So, but my point is that I like Lauren, but she was kind of portraying as, this is why my trad relationship didn't work out. I don't think it was a trad relationship.
Yeah,
like, look at that.
No, but that's my point. Even trad women do not behave trad.
But what is
that? When I say
traditional?
traditional is family first above all. The family comes first before me.
But I think maybe there's a bias in the system because the women that we hear about are prominent political commentators. They're working women.
Yes.
The traditional mothers don't go on. This is a really good.
All right, guys, that's where I'm going to stop it. I really think Pearl showed herself superbly in this interaction, in this video. She doesn't always do that, but this one, I tip my hat to her. And again, Lauren Chen on almost every single topic was either what about the Mendo, was about men need to take more responsibility, was proven as Pearl called her out on her unwavering, almost immediate support for Steven Crowder's wife, whom she didn't even know. And she actually knew Steven Crowder personally. I got to admit, and you know, again, Lauren is going to have to do some major soul searching on this. Some major soul searching on this. If it seems kind of odd to have this inclination to just believe a woman that you don't even know right off rip. And then when Pearl presses her on it, she says, well, I can't answer it because I can only discuss what's public and readily available. Okay. Well, then Pearl brings up something that's public and readily available, and she doesn't even discuss that. She moves right off of it and doesn't address it. And she doesn't say why she refused to dig her heels in and say why she thought Steven was out of order. And it wasn't a situation, as Pearl was describing, of her not being truly submissive to her husband, aka Steven Crowder. And so this is why I made the video about I'm just going to pull it up here on my iPad. This is why I made the car ride rant, because I had such a strong reaction to this, and I did not want to take this whole video up discussing it, of the unicorn that is the TradCon woman. Now, later in this video, obviously they say that they don't know exactly what TradCon means, but you guys know what I mean when I say that. Okay, the traditional, she purports to be Christian. She purports to be a Christian woman who lives by God's rules and God's standards, and it is just not what it seems. It's not. You are so hard pressed to find a woman who truly abides by those principles. What you will more commonly find, the title of the video, Beware of the Unicorn, TradCon Girl. I'll link it in this video. What you will more commonly find is a woman who wears the TradCon lifestyle in order to get the perks of being from some poor, ignorant, naive schmuck who is loving idealistically, as I talked about at the beginning of the video. But in reality, she's wearing it as a cloak, as a piece of fashion. It's fashionable to be TradCon. This whole feminist thing has gone out of style, rather than truly being a daughter of Christ and abiding by God's commandments and word. So listen, guys, I'm just saying, beware of the unicorn that is the TradCon girl. And Lauren, you know, like I said, I don't dislike her, but I do think that her worldview has a ton of holes in it. And if she is going to delve in to the intersexual dynamics and the whole manosphere red pill the whole manosphere red pill meets Christian world situation and men's rights and all of that under the umbrella, then she's going to have to think about a few things, because she's going to keep taking L's like this. I guarantee I'm not going to be the only person, or has not been the only person, to make a video on this. Because, and like I said, guys, ultimately, I don't blame her per se, because this is the world that she's grown up in. If you don't think that a girl like Lauren has not had most things handed to her, you're sadly mistaken. And, you know, it would be naive of me to expect her on a certain level to fully understand some of these topics, especially when it comes to what it's like to be a modern man dealing with modern women. But I can comment on it because she is deciding to delve into this. And thus far, it has not been a good showing for her. All right, guys, like, comment, share, subscribe. The channel is so close to reaching 1,000 subs. I hope we can get there in the next month or so. At the very least, like, comment, share. You guys know the drill. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow, and facts are feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you, kings. See you guys next time. Christ is king. Peace.